It's Nolan. Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
Hey, go and get that bonus. Work. Let me see your devotion. Work. You deserve the promotion. Work. Can't leave without that notice. Shout and make it right. Work that thing around the clock. Everybody came to see it. Got a line around the block. Cashing out the ones. I got funds and they never stop. DJ play a song. I'ma let them fly just like a fly. Boss status, drip it all platinum. Got a floss habit. Throw that money. Ain't no jaw jacking. I got more baggage. Show me some. I can change your life if you don't know what's up. Seen it from the front. Now back it up just like a loaded truck. Ay, I got plenty paper. I just wanna spend with you. Ay, I ain't got nowhere to be, so let me chill with you. Ay, you the prototype, the baddest one up in the room. I just wanna see you making move in your birthday suit. Ay, work. Hey, go and get that bonus. Work. Let me see your devotion. Work. You deserve the promotion. Work. Can't leave without that notice.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there this evening. All right, so we got to follow up on Tasha K, Cardi B. Y'all know Tasha K came out about a week or so ago and let the world know ahead of time, preemptively, that she lost, right? As it pertained to Cardi's motion for sanctions, being held in civil contempt. Cardi was trying to get future sanctions put on Tasha K ahead of time, basically imposing a certain amount of money of punishment just so she wouldn't have to deal with it later, because she feels like she's basically being constantly harassed, despite the fact that Tasha K is not supposed to be able to speak on her family, her children, her romantic interests, nobody. And Tasha's been finding ways to circumvent the system, right? She's been using code names for Cardi. She'll talk about people that she's linked to and try to act like it has nothing to do with her. Cardi and her legal team were reaching out to her like about videos. Tasha was then employing this tactic of, I can put it up until they reach out to me about it and I'll remove it. And by then she'll have already made her impact, swayed people's opinion, and ultimately made her money, because she only posts on platforms where she makes bread, right? So Cardi B reported all of this to the judge, to the courts, and said something needs to be done about this because this is bullshit. And she signed on paperwork, not only signed it, but agreed to paperwork, negotiated for the paperwork. And now she's completely trying to go around it as if can't nobody see her. Tasha K said, hey, I'm practicing good faith by removing everything. Well, the judge has finally issued their final order on the matter. And it's been partially granted in terms of civil contempt, in terms of violation of the non-disparagement order, in terms of attorney's fees. It's been granted in terms of her attorney being sanctioned as well. However, those future sanctions were denied. So, as expected, order in the Southern District of Florida on May 13th, that will be today. Scott M. Grossman, Chief Judge, United States Bankruptcy Court, files this. In response to Latasha Transina Kibi, Chapter 11, Subchapter 5, this is for bankruptcy, right? So Order 1, granting in part and denying in part without prejudice, Belcalis Marlenis Almanzar's motion to 1, enforce confirmed plan and confirmation order, and 2, impose sanctions, including attorneys' fees and costs, and 2, imposing Rule 9011 sanctions against debtors' counsel. This matter came before the court on May 6, 2026 at 2:30 p.m. on the motion of creditor Belcalis Marlenis Almanzar. All right, we just got through that. In response to the motion filed by debtor Latasha Transina Kibi, Ms. Almanzar's reply to the response and debtor's notice of filing of notice to correct and clarify citations in debtor's response. The court, having reviewed the foregoing filings, having heard argument of counsel, and having reviewed the full record of this proceeding, the court finds and orders as follows. Findings of fact and conclusions of law. On March 4th, 2025, this court entered its order confirming debtor's Subchapter 5 plan of reorganization. The confirmed plan and confirmation order are binding upon debtor and all creditors as orders of this court. B. Paragraph 14 of the confirmation order prohibits the debtor parties from publicly making, publishing, or communicating, whether directly or indirectly, any derogatory, disparaging, or defamatory statements, remarks, or comments about Ms. Almanzar, her family members, including, without limitation, to her children born prior or after the petition date, husband, siblings, parents, step-parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and cousins, excluding any cousins more removed than second cousins, and or any all entities owned or controlled by Ms. Almanzar. In any public forum or medium, including social media accounts, websites, blogs, or other communication channels, and including but not limited to those owned or controlled fully or partially by the debtor parties and or Chikina Kibi and or by Yellen Entertainment. And further including but not limited to Unwind with Tasha K, the Wine Cellar Podcast, or Tasha K Live. C. Paragraph 14A further provides that debtor shall ensure that no content, regardless of the nature of the content, related to Ms. Almanzar and or her family, whether explicitly or implicitly, will be published or disseminated on any of debtor's social media accounts, websites, blogs, or other online communication channels, including without limitation, the same as before. The court finds that Kiari Kindrell Sifus, professionally known as Offset, as Ms. Almanzar's husband, and Stefon Diggs as the co-parent of a child born to Ms. Almanzar, are each Almanzar parties within the meaning and protection of paragraph 14 of the confirmation order, as we had already said and expected. Debtor did not contest that the posts, statements, broadcasts, and other communications identified in the motion and supplement, as well as others referenced in the hearing, were made. Debtor argued only that she had a legal right to make them. The court squarely rejects that argument. A confirmed plan of reorganization constitutes a binding order of this court, and the sole inquiry for purposes of enforcement is whether the debtor complied with its terms. Whether a violation was willful is legally irrelevant to the question of liability for noncompliance with a court-confirmed order. The court finds that debtor violated the non-disparagement clause of the confirmation order on no fewer than the occasions identified and documented in the motion and the supplement, spanning multiple social media platforms including YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok, and including public broadcasts on the Morning Hustle radio program. Each occurrence constitutes a violation of the paragraph 14 in the confirmation order. So the judge is saying all of these different occurrences are in violation, just as Cardi B stated. Even the interview in which she was asked about Cardi B and the case and, you know, her money and all of this different type of stuff being affected, it all falls under the same order. So Tasha's entire response filing has been considered bullshit. The court further finds that debtor is in civil contempt of this court's confirmation order by reason of the violations described herein. The court finds that the cure provision set in paragraph 14B of the confirmation order by its plain terms applies only to content concerning an unidentified Almanzar party, that is, a family member of Miss Almanzar not known to debtor or the general public to be related to Miss Almanzar. None of the violations at issue involve an unidentified Almanzar party within the meaning of that provision. Accordingly, the cure provision has no application to any of the violations found herein, and debtor's post-publication removal of content upon notice does not cure or mitigate any violation. A violation of the non-disparagement clause is complete upon publication. So the moment that you put it out there, it is a violation. You cannot take the violation away just because you've been confronted and now decide to delete it, as that provision only applied to unidentified parties that you would not know are related to Cardi B. With respect to the citation errors identified in the reply and acknowledged in the corrective notice, the court acknowledges and accepts the apology tendered by debtor's counsel. That would be Tasha's lawyer. However, the court finds that an apology, while appropriate, does not fully resolve debtor's counsel's obligations under Bankruptcy Rule 9011. The standard governing submissions to this court is objective. Legal contentions must be warranted by existing law at the time of filing. Bankruptcy Rule 9011b2, the citation errors identified in the reply failed to meet that standard. These deficiencies were not discovered by debtor's counsel prior to filing. They were identified by opposing counsel and documented in the reply. Debtor's counsel waived further hearing on the Rule 9011 issue. So this is giving you reason as to why Tasha K's lawyer is also going to have to pay, because his response was bullshit and not based on actual law. So they tried to apologize for their errors. The judge is saying, thank you for the apology, but it's not enough. Order. Based upon the foregoing findings of fact and conclusions of law, and for the reasons stated on the record at the hearing held on May 6, 2026, it is hereby ordered that the motion is granted in part and denied in part without prejudice as set forth below. Cease and desist, removal of prohibited content. Debtor and all parties acting in concert with debtor, and remember, anytime debtor comes up, that's Tasha, must immediately cease and desist from all conduct in violation of the non-disparagement clause set forth in paragraph 14 of the confirmation order, including without limitation all direct, indirect, and implicitly coded references to Ms. Almanzar and or her family members, including but not limited to Offset and Stefon Diggs. Debtor must immediately remove all content that violates paragraph 14 from any and all social media platforms, websites, blogs, and online communication channels owned, operated, or controlled by debtor or any party acting in concert with debtor. 2. Civil contempt. Debtor is found to be in civil contempt of the confirmation order by reason of her multiple violations of paragraph 14 thereof, as set forth in the findings of fact and conclusions of law above. 3. Attorney's fees and costs. Ms. Almanzar is awarded her attorney's fees and costs in 2 separate categories. First, Ms. Almanzar is awarded her attorney's fees and costs incurred from the date of the confirmation order through and including the date of the hearing on the motion in connection with monitoring, documenting, and enforcing debtor's compliance with the non-disparagement clause set forth in paragraph 14 of the confirmation order. So this is interesting right here. Okay? So Cardi B is going to be reimbursed all of her attorney's fees and costs from the date of the confirmation order. Now remember, the date of the confirmation order was last year. So all of the fees that she's incurred for the past year monitoring Tasha K's social media, YouTube, etc., where her lawyers have had to reach out, have had to monitor her, have had to draft orders or motions concerning Tasha K, all of that money is being ordered to come back. All the way up until last Wednesday, of course, where they actually had court, where Cardi's lawyers had to be in attendance. stupid is as stupid does. Second, Ms. Almanzar is awarded her attorney's fees and costs for research and the drafting of the reply collectively with the Compliance Enforcement Award, the Fees and Costs Award. The amount of fees and costs comprising the Fees and Costs Award will be determined in accordance with the procedures set forth in paragraph 4 of this order and must be paid to Ms. Almanzar in the manner as directed by her counsel no later than 28 days after the entry of any order of this court establishing the amount of attorney's fees awarded to Ms. Almanzar pursuant to this order. So once they work out what that price is going to be, Tasha K is going to have 28 days to make this payment. Okay? And Tasha been thinking she been getting off easy, right? They put this little payment plan in order to where she's only going to have to pay a certain amount of dollars per year up until a certain point. I think the money increases each year, giving her time to make money and stack up and put it back into Cardi B's pocket, which probably influenced her to do the stupid shit she's been doing, keeping the narrative going against Cardi B in code so that she could keep her revenue streams coming in off of her biggest story, which is Cardi B, unfortunately. So now once they figure out what those fees will be, she's going to have to pay up within 28 days. 4, fee affidavit procedure. Within 21 days of the date of entry on this order, counsel for Ms. Almanzar James C. Moon, Esquire of Milan Budwick, PA, and co-counsel Lisa Moore, Esquire, and W. Andrew Pacino must jointly file with the court an affidavit of fees and costs with attendant time records attached as an exhibit hereto, setting forth the attorney's fees and costs sought pursuant to paragraph 3 of this order. Debtor will have 14 days after service of the fee affidavit to file any objection. Following the expiration of the objection period, the court will determine whether an evidentiary hearing is necessary or whether the matter may be resolved on the submissions. The parties are authorized and encouraged to confer and attempt to resolve any objections before any deadline or evidentiary hearing set by the court. If the parties reach agreement on the amount of attorney's fees and costs to be awarded, they may submit an agreed order to the court for entry without further hearing. So Cardi B's legal team is going to have to submit their summary of fees and make sure that it's justifiable to the court. 5, prospective monetary sanctions for future violations denied without prejudice. So this part the judge did not agree with. The request for the imposition of a prospective monetary sanction for violations of paragraph 14 of the confirmation order that have not yet occurred is denied without prejudice. Should future violations of the non-disparagement clause occur, Ms. Almanzar may seek appropriate relief from this court at that time, which would mean she'd have to do this all over again. Upon any application, the court will consider the nature and circumstances of the alleged violation, and if a violation is found to have occurred, will fashion an appropriate sanction at that time. So they're just going to have to keep addressing it as it comes up. And knowing Tasha K, it probably will continue to come up. She's just going to cost herself more money in the long run, not even counting the debt that she already owes to Cardi. Bankruptcy Rule 9011 sanctions against debtors' counsel. Based upon the citation errors identified in the reply and acknowledged by debtors' counsel in the corrective notice, and upon debtors' counsel's waiver of further hearing on the Rule 9011 issue at the May 6, 2026 hearing, the court hereby imposes a sanction pursuant to Bankruptcy Rule 9011 against Chad T. Van Horn, Esquire, and Van Horn Law Group in an amount equal to 10% of the reply award awarded to Ms. Almanzar pursuant to paragraph 3 of this order. So he's going to have to pay up 10%. This is what Tasha K previously stated, but now we have it on paper from the judge. The sanction must be paid directly to Ms. Almanzar in the manner as directed by her counsel no later than 28 days after the entry of any order of this court establishing the amount of attorney's fees awarded to Ms. Almanzar pursuant to this order. So he's going to have to come out of fucking pocket due to his client being a fucking idiot. Number 7, all other relief. All other relief requested in the motion and the supplement not specifically addressed in this order is denied without prejudice. The court reserves jurisdiction to enforce the terms of this order. Okay? So Cardi's team has 21 days to submit their summary of fees. Tasha and her team are going to have 14 days to assemble any objections that they have concerning those fees. The judge will then determine what will be the necessary action from there, if there's a need for another hearing or if they can come to a mutual agreement that can be handled on paper rather than in court. And then once everything is finalized, they will have 28 days to produce those fees to Cardi B. Okay? And again, Tasha's lawyer is going to have to come out 10% of his own pocket when Tasha should be paying him for the work that he's had to do in defending her. Again, a fucking clown show. With all that being stated, Cardi B won in that department. However, in the love department, there seems to be more bullshit between herself and Stefon Diggs. So TMZ has now reported that the good Mother's Day vibes are over. Argument has taken place outside a Maryland cafe. When I say she need to drop this nigga, I can't say it any more clear. So on TMZ, they say Cardi B and Stefon Diggs might not be as chummy as they looked over Mother's Day weekend because we've obtained video of them engaged in an intense debate in Maryland. The video, taken Wednesday afternoon, that's today literally, outside a coffee shop and a gym in Burtonsville, Maryland, near Washington, D.C., shows Cardi aggressively yelling at Diggs, who is leaned back, arms crossed, against his sports car. It's a very short video, but I'll go ahead and play it nonetheless. You can see her screaming.
Cardi B, it's okay.
Okay, very short. You see Stefon leaned up against his car. She's walking out, screaming, fussing, the whole nine. They say we can't tell what she's yelling, but she gets so animated that another dude with her comes up and puts a hand on her in an attempt to calm her down. A source tells us they overheard Cardi say, quote unquote, "That bitch is messy." Unclear to whom she was referring. Now, it's very possible she could be talking about Chef Mila, who we just spoke about, and she came out with these allegations that Cardi B could have been physically abused or had some sort of issue in the delivery room during her pregnancy, all of this different type of stuff. I cannot say for sure or certain that Cardi's talking about her in particular, but whoever it is, they have a quote alleging that she said that bitch is messy. So somebody is up to no good trying to do some foul shit. One can assume it would be Chef Mila because we've already heard from her twice in the past week of her stirring up bullshit. Furthermore, they say our sources say this argument went on for a while, at least 10 minutes. And while it wasn't that big of a scene, security did turn away fans who wanted Cardi's autograph. I'm not going to play it, but this lady here in the yellow top, I guess she wanted Cardi's autograph. She was turned away as she should have been. They say it's surprising to see these two arguing because everything looked fine between them over the weekend when Cardi showed up to support Stefon at a Mother's Day event for his Digs Deep Foundation Mother's Day. And I'm still not over the name of that fucking foundation with everything surrounding this nigga's name. So yeah, as Cardi took a W in the courtroom and is going to be reimbursed for her legal fees and everything that she's had to spend out in monitoring and trying to make sure, that Tasha K is being kept in check. Unfortunately, she still has to deal with this L of a relationship she continues to entertain, and hopefully she moves on sooner than later. There's better out there. There's other opportunities out there. And at the bare minimum, there's peace in being alone for a little bit. All right? That's my take on the situation. Y'all let me know what y'all think down below in the comments. Be sure to like and share this video. If this is your first time seeing me on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, become an insider. I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Y'all be good out there. Peace.
Yeah, family over fame in this bitch, yeah. The glory of living righteous is setting in. My street knowledge and education's a perfect blend. Young mogul, independent, I've been setting trends. The first one from my family to be faithfully wed. Fuck niggas and the horses that they riding on. I see this shit from all angles like a polygon. I'm never politicking, the drama be piling on. Father and great son acknowledged like I'm Bobby Bonds. Conversation with my lady about the paper route. 5 sit bank accounts, every day I make it count. They down talking my commentary for hating now. Well, I can take it cause I'm bodying your favorite now, please. I can do this shit in my sleep. I been writing for these niggas, y'all read it and weep. I been fighting these niggas if you speak on the street. I turn your birthday party into New Year's Eve. Don't let me take it there. We ain't playing fair. This the ATL, Southside nigga moving furniture like Wayfair. Life on hold, no insurance for your healthcare. Lifeline gone, so you wanna be a millionaire? Well, let me tell you about this world I built. The women I dodged, the niggas that I read for filth. The sympathy calls, consulting for the stacks I built. I had to evolve.